Worship leaders, worship musicians, and those who love to worship. This is our final video in our 7-part series, The 7 Levels of Worship. And today we're going to be talking about what it means to worship like a mercy gifting. Let's talk about it. Welcome to the Worship Homestead. My name is Nathan Smith. Thank you for joining me. Today we're going to be talking about the mercy gifting and what it means to worship like a mercy. But before we do, I want to give you something. If you go to my website, blueprintsounds.com, you can get access to my free worship training bundle called the Worship Booster Pack. It has PDFs and online classes in everything from songwriting, how to arrange your band, how to build a better band, cheat codes for church sound, and much more. All of that is available on my website, or click on the link nearby, blueprintsounds.com/worship booster pack. All right, let's talk about the mercy gifting. First, let me explain something about sevens in the Bible. God has put patterns in Scripture and in creation which help us understand Him and His creation better. So there are 7 days of the week, there are 7 colors in a rainbow, there are 7 spirits of God in Revelation, there are 7 churches to which letters were written in the book of Revelation. But today we're going to be looking at the 7 redemptive gifts in the book of Romans. How that works is, each one of us has a design from God, and they are one of 7. So you might have the design of a prophet or the design of a giver. Well, this design affects how you think, what motivates you, and how you relate to God and how you relate to others. In order, they are the gifting of a prophet, the servant, the teacher, the giver, the ruler, and the mercy. There are also 7 items of furniture in the tabernacle, and they are the altar for sacrifice, the bronze laver or the bronze basin, the table of showbread, the golden lampstand, the altar of incense, the Ark of the Covenant, and the mercy seat. Today we're going to be looking at the gift of mercy and how that relates to the mercy seat in the tabernacle. So first, let's talk about the gift of mercy. If you're a gift of mercy, you're probably very safe to be around, and you might have a lot of acquaintances, but you probably have 1 or 2 very close friends. Mercies often need physical touch and human contact in a way that some of the other gifts don't, and this can be problematic, especially if you don't know what to do with that. That can lead to impurity in some places. Mercies are often slower to make transitions than some of the other gifts, especially a prophet, and they need time to process emotionally. Mercies often hear from God, but they don't hear from God through their head like some of the other giftings do. A lot of the other giftings are very verbal, and they can explain exactly what they're feeling or thinking at any given moment. A mercy has a direct heart to God, right? It's a heart-to-heart connection. It's a spirit-to-spirit connection, but they have a difficult time explaining why they might feel a certain way. So they're very in tune with their knower, that gut feeling that they have. I have a bad feeling about this or that, or I have a good feeling about this or that, but they might not be able to explain it. The mercy is also predisposed to worship the Lord. They, like I said, with that heart-to-heart connection to the Father, they have this on-ramp to God that the other 6 don't really have in the same way, because so much of the processing for the other 6 gifts can be verbal and goes through the brain. With the mercy, it just goes straight to the heart. So how does that relate to the article of furniture in the tabernacle? Well, again, on top of the Ark of the Covenant, we find the mercy seat. And the mercy seat has 2 angels with their wings outstretched, which kind of makes like the back of a seat. And that is where the manifest presence of God would come and rest right there on that mercy seat, and God would meet with His people. Mercy gift, that is you all over, because the mercy is all about fulfillment, having everything come into its place and just resting when everything is done. Everything is just where it should be. That is one of the mercy's greatest desires, is to have everything set and at peace where it should be in that fulfillment. So if you are a mercy who is a worship leader, you probably have a very different way of worshiping and leading than other giftings. If you're a prophet, for example, the prophet's very declarative. This is what the Lord is doing. This is what's coming next. If you're a ruler, probably very administrative, so you talk a lot about the authority of God, or at least that part excites you. The mercy is about intimacy, and it's about that heart-to-heart connection with God. So when you worship mercy, it's just different than when the other six worship, because so often what you're trying to express goes beyond words, and it doesn't have to do with words. It has to do with your spirit connecting with the Spirit of God, because that's how He made you. So what are some of the challenges that a mercy faces? Well, the first challenge is that because you can't articulate exactly what you're feeling, sometimes that makes it easy for you to get shut down by the other six giftings. You might say, oh, this is what I'm feeling. And the first thing that one of the other giftings will do is they'll say, oh yeah, why is that? They're wanting you to verbalize it. And as a mercy gifting, you're thinking, you might not even know, but I can't explain why I'm feeling the way I'm feeling. I just am feeling the way I'm feeling. That can be a little bit frustrating for the other six gifts, but it's exceedingly frustrating for you because you would love to be able to say why you feel what you feel, but you can't because God didn't put it in your head, He put it in your heart. One of the other challenges that a mercy has is that they tend towards self-sacrifice, right? And so in relationships, they often become the subservient one. So they will be the one to sacrifice. They'll be the one to do without in a relationship if they can keep the relationship going. This is especially dangerous for women. They'll find themselves in relationships with men over and over and over again, a string of bad relationships where from the outside, another gifting might say, that was a terrible relationship. That guy didn't deserve you. Why did you do that? And then why did you do it again and again and again? Well, the problem is that when a woman has that desire for touch and for physical intimacy, not talking about sexual necessarily, that she lets herself be taken advantage of multiple times because she wants to keep the relationship because her need for love is so strong. And that propensity to tolerate exploitation is not good for the mercy. It's not good for anyone, but it does a lot of damage to a mercy. But the biggest lie that the mercy believes is that I can gain the favor of the Lord through self-sacrifice. And that's not what God intended. God intended for the mercy to experience unprecedented levels of fulfillment when everything is at peace and where it should be. That's what God wanted the mercy to experience, not to self-sacrifice and do without so that others can have. Mercy, what you were born for, is to be able to go into the presence of God more easily than the other gifts and then come back and share that with others. King David is an excellent example of someone who had the gift of mercy. You can read the Psalms, but when you read David's Psalms, you think, wow, this man knew the Lord in a way that I don't think I do understand. David had a heart-to-heart connection with God. He couldn't stand to be separated from God, and you can see that in his writing. That's why it's so emotional. Just the thought that David would be separated from his God, elicits all sorts of pained lyrics out of him because his heart was for God. That's why God called him a man after my own heart. Also, we see on the flip side that David's need for touch and for hugs and for physical intimacy led him down the wrong path for a while. But the reason why we remember David so well is that he pulled something out of the future into his own time. The sort of intimacy that David had with the Lord was unparalleled in the Old Testament. When Jesus comes along, he rips the veil and he tears it in two, and now we get to enter the throne room of God. David experienced that before, right? He got a foretaste of that before Jesus came because he was a man after God's own heart. Mercy, that is what's available to you, is to have that sort of intimacy with the Lord, but it has to be based on purity. And it can't be based on self-sacrifice. It has to be based on your pure presence, meeting with God heart to heart. Hey, as we wrap up this series, I want to explain just a few more things about these giftings. The first is that if you have one of these gifts predominantly, for example, I am the gift of servant more than others, you're going to lead with that gift. However, it's important that you understand all of them, not only so that you can relate to other people who have giftings different than yours, but the cool part is that your spirit contains all 7 of these giftings. So in your spirit, you are prophet, servant, teacher, exhorter, ruler, giver, and mercy. So even though your soul has one expression of those colors, sort of like, the colors of a rainbow, your spirit has all 7. So that means that we don't get to leave one off the table because it doesn't feel like it fits. Well, in reality, we're supposed to walk in all of those to some degree. Hey, I hope these videos have helped you. And if you need help with your worship team, make sure to go to blueprintsounds.com/worship booster pack. Until next week, God bless and goodbye.